Aloha and good afternoon, everyone. It is Thursday, May 29, 2025, and the time is 1:01 p.m. Will the Committee on Public Safety and Customer Services meeting please come to order? We'd like to welcome to the committee, to the chamber this afternoon. We have committee members who are present with us. I'd like to welcome Committee Vice Chair Kia Aina and Committee Council Members Nishimoto, Talba, and Wire. Although remote oral testimony is being permitted, this is a regular in-person meeting and not a remote meeting by interactive conference technology under HRS Section 92-3.7. Therefore, the meeting will continue notwithstanding loss of audiovisual communication with remote testifiers or loss of the public broadcast of the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda in two ways: in person in the council chamber and remotely via video conference or phone. Remote and in-person oral testimony will be allowed when each agenda item is taken up. Before testifying, each person shall state their name for the record and will be limited to a 1-minute presentation. As both English and Hawaiian are official languages of the state of Hawaii, pursuant to Article 15, Section 4 of the Hawaii State Constitution and Section 1-13 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, members of the public may testify in either language. For oral testimonies offered in Olelo, Hawaii, additional time as may be necessary will be allowed for the testifier to provide an English translation of their testimony. All persons who have registered to testify in person will be called upon first. When your name is called, please come up to the testifier podium. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to testify following the registered testifiers. After in-person testimony has concluded, I will proceed to remote testimony via video conference or phone. When I call your name, please monitor your screen and follow the prompt to unmute. For those who are joining us by telephone only, please press *9 if you wish to testify, and I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When your number is called, please listen for the prompt to unmute and press *6. Written testimonies, including testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off or silence all cell phones for the duration of this meeting. Thank you. Members, moving on to agenda item number 1, Bill 38, 2025. This bill makes confirming amendments to the revised ordinances of Honolulu 2020 to reflect the transfer of the Extended Lifeguard Services Program from the Department of Emergency Services to the Department of Ocean Safety. I don't see Councilmember Dos Santos Tam here, so I will now like to call up and welcome Acting Assistant Chief Adam Lerner from Honolulu Ocean Safety from our department. Aloha and good afternoon, Acting Assistant Chief
Aloha.
Lerner.
Thank you, Council Chair, Council members. Appreciate your time. Apologies for Director Lager. He had prior engagements he had to be with. He's busy with the mayor right now. Sorry about that. So, Assistant Chief Lerner, Ocean Safety.
Okay. Did you want to share anything related to the measure, the bill before us?
Just to update you, we had a conversation with Corp Council, and we're still taking a stance that we feel like the verbiage of dawn to dusk suits us best. Just the way that it operates, kind of, in a sense, our towers are open. We started an extended hour service in 2023. We go 8 to 6:30. It's kind of strayed from our traditional 9 to 5:30. That expanded really well in the winter hours of the, winter time. But summertime, it's a little longer. But basically, the verbiage from dawn to dusk helps us out, and all of our towers have signage on it that says when we're not on duty, in case of emergency, no lifeguard on duty, call 911. So Corp Council felt like that was the best way to approach it, as opposed to attacking it more of pinpointing a sunrise, sunset. So we're on track. We've discussed options to extend it a little more and split up and try experiment with other things. But for the verbiage of dawn to dusk, I feel like that's the best way for us to attack it.
Okay, thank you. Members, do we have any questions for Acting Assistant Chief? Yes, Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for being here. Just wanted to confirm, though, regarding the language in Bill 30, it's changing it from being under the supervision of the Department of Emergency Services Director over to Ocean Safety. I'd
Yes,
assume-
100%. Yeah.
I'd assume you're on board with that. And that's,
Yes, on board, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Council Vice Chair Wire. I'd like to welcome to the chamber with this Councilmember Tupola. Members, do we have any further questions? If not, I have just a quick question.
Yep, go
So I know we've gone back and forth with extended hours and dawn to dusk. I want to make sure that we understand. So because during the summertime, that's when the daylight is longer. Who decides and how is this communicated throughout the department with the different beaches and parks throughout the
So
island?
basically in 2023, before that we went 9 to 5:30. In 2023, we experimented and went with the union and started a extended shift, basically turned everyone from a traditional 9 to 5:30, 8-hour workday to a 10-hour 4-10 shift. So that is island-wide. Every lifeguard on the island, for the most part, works a 10-hour shift. There's different areas, like Hanama Bay starts a little earlier, but 8 to 6:30 is the traditional tower coverage that we have with our mobile operators. So it gets tricky, you know, if we start changing times and start times for different people around the island. We have collective bargaining unit agreements, and we have rest periods that the guards are entitled to because it's such a strenuous job. So starting with that, for now, the last couple of years, it seems to be, it's really receptive with our guards, and we've caught a few things over the years in the hours from like 8 to 9 and 5:30 to 6:30. So it's working well, but other than that, expanding more would require a little more, you know, more staffing. But we have a few ideas, but for now, that seems to be working, and we're gonna keep it at that for now. So
Okay, just so
Not sure if that answers the
I
question,
understand
but-
clearly then. So when, and you said you put the signs out there when the lifeguards leave. So if
Yep.
at 6:30, that's when the shift ends,
Yep.
but there's still light.
So when you shut the tower, on each side of the tower, actually all 3 sides of the tower, there's a sign that says, a big red decal that says, no lifeguard on duty. In case of emergency, call 911. So according to Corp Council, and we agree, I mean, we can't be there all the time. The flip side is if we say sunrise to sunset and we start chasing that, it's like, it's hard for us to change a shift every 5 minutes and just go throughout the year. So it's right now keeping that core chunk of the day without changing too much seems to be working. So the other thing would go to more like a winter-summer schedule, and then we'd have to do staggered shifts. So there's ways to do it, but right now we're just kind of in talks of ways to possibly expand a little more for the summer. But we also combat it, you know, there's busy days in the summer. We do pre-shift and post-shift overtime. If we know it's gonna be a busy day with a big swell or something like that, a holiday, we'll just tack on an hour on the end of the day or the beginning of the day for the guards to work. So it seems to be working really well right now, what we're doing.
Okay, thank you. Maybe as soon as the department decides, so we can get the information out to
Yep.
our community so that everybody's on the
100%.
same page, that would
Yeah.
be really great. Thank you.
course.
Members, if we have any further questions, Councilmember Tupola?
Thank you, Chair. Quick question, maybe not related to exactly this, but in a different hearing, they mentioned that you guys would possibly be getting away from the paper and pencil and going electronic for your...
Yes, so that's a good question. We actually started doing that. It's called Watchtower. It's like an iPad that we use, and it's all electronic. We started at Hanama Bay, so we're in the process of introducing it to Hanama Bay. It's been going for a few months, and it's awesome. So our goal is to get everybody switched over to that eventually. It's great for us because we get instant data for things like this. And we can-
Yeah, no, I think the data is great. I just felt bad that people kept tallying it with a paper and pencil all these years. So
Yeah.
good news. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
it's awesome. It should be great once we get to that. So it's part of our plan.
We'll wait for it to get to Waianae. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Any further questions? If not, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Seeing no further questions, we'll now proceed with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers, either registered or non-registered, for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers, either registered or non-registered?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, we are in discussion. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Bill 38, 2025 be reported out for passage on third reading. Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving on to agenda item number 2, Resolution 25-101. This resolution confirms the appointment of Landon Kaneshiro to serve on the Honolulu Police Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2029. A public hearing on the resolution was held on May 14, 2025. And with us this afternoon, I believe we do have the appointee, Mr. Landon Kaneshiro. I'd like to welcome you to the chamber. And if you could just introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Hi, I'm Landon Kaneshiro, and I'm here for discussion on my appointment to the Police Commission.
Thank you for being here with us. Members, do we have any questions for the testifier? Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Kaneshiro, for being here. Appreciate it. You have quite an extensive background in recycling and trash. I know we don't have an EMV board, but it seems like you might have a lot of insight there. So what is your interest in being on the police commission?
Well, to be quite honest, in the very beginning, I was kind of against joining this commission because it's so public and, you know, there's a lot of eyes on this commission. But I was on the city zoning board of appeals for, I want to say about 7, 8 years, and I was chair for the last couple before I got off last year. You know, I think in what I do in my family company, we don't, or I'm not afforded too much opportunity to do so-called pro bono work. So I kind of consider this, you know, my giving back to the community. But, you know, I think I had a conversation with Mayor when he was thinking about appointing me in the first place. And I believe that this position is very important, and I don't take this appointment lightly at all. And I'm not trying to, you know, embellish my resume at all. You know, I think I have plenty of stuff to do with my family business. And, you know, we're on every island. We're in all kinds of facets of waste management. But I think at the core of it, my job in general management of the companies and business is overseeing people and making sure they're accountable and doing what they're supposed to do. So I think from that point of view, I can lend some experience and some perspective in this role. So I guess, yeah.
So one follow-up question, and Chair, thank you for the time. What do you think is the most pressing issue that you as a future police commission member would have to tackle?
Without being on the commission, I read through a bunch of the agendas. I watched a couple of the meetings on YouTube. You know, it's difficult because to me, and for relevance for what I do in the business world, you know, the police have to deal with a whole broad spectrum of topics. You know, it's kind of like IT or HR. It's kind of a catch-all type of I guess, skill that you need to be able to deal with everything and anything that comes at you. And I was lucky enough to be part of the Pacific Century Fellows group. That's Mufi's Young Leadership Program. Mm-hmm. And in that program, we did a ride along with the police officers. And I remember the officer I rode with, Officer Isaki. He was working his tail off from beginning to end, you know, and I give these guys all the credit in the world for how hard they work. So, you know, anything I can do to support that in general, I don't have a specific topic. You know, I know that the issues of police, the department morale has been an issue. I know recruiting has been an issue. You know, homelessness, you know, mental health. There's just so many things. It's hard to choose just one that's, I guess, the most important. So I can't really speak to one specific thing. You know,
Thank
obviously
you.
This committee is the Public Safety Committee. That is broad in itself, right? So I think, you know, any way I can help, I'm here for that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kaneshiro. You know, I would add, like, the police commission is very public. There are many people that previously served on the police commission who did it for decades because they were very committed to kind of shaping the department. I would encourage you to read the 2024 Commander Survey. It's listed on their website. I appreciate the fact that you went through some previous agendas, but I do think that there are actually one or two pressing issues, and I think maybe just a little bit of reading through that Commander Survey, reading through some of the agendas should kind of guide you, but also on agenda item number 7 today, we'll be going through a few of it. So thank you for your dedication, for your openness, and your willingness. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Members, any further questions? Committee Vice Chair Kia Aina.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I want to have some follow-up questions with regard to your background because you and I had talked. I do have concerns about your background, but you are an attorney. You served on a previous city board, which I think might be more appropriate. I am a little worried about your nomination to this post because I don't believe you have to have requisite experience exactly. But I do expect, because we are going through a lot, not just HPD, but the city. And for this particular commission, which I care dearly about, I do expect for the caliber of the nominees to, if you don't have direct experience, which would be preferable, or at least an understanding of the social issues that they're dealing with, I would expect a little interest or passion from you in certain challenges that HPD is facing. So my question to you is, you stated that you didn't have pro bono experience. I don't think you need pro bono experience to even talk about some of the challenges, social issues that we're facing, separate from what you just listed with regard to HPD challenges. List for me probably the top issue that is facing our communities that we could expect HPD perhaps to be more attentive to in our communities. I know that it hasn't come up recently, but I know years ago we talked about the nuances with regard to racial discrimination that exists here versus the US continent. And I have to give credit to recent leadership and our community policing teams, because they have endeavored, including the commissioners, to provide that type of leadership to understand those marginalized communities on Oahu who feel that we could do better to outreach to them to understand what their challenges are. But can you give me an idea of what is going on in our communities with regard to how some of our marginalized communities view HPD? And do you also agree that, has racial discrimination improved with regard to how HPD handles those matters?
Okay, yeah, sure. For me, so I guess if I can answer a little bit broadly and then kind of come back to your question. So, just being a member of the community here, I think I do have a stake in this role specifically because public safety is a big concern for everybody in general. And I just like to share in December, me and my wife, we just had a baby girl. And so, I'm a new dad, and it changes my perspective of how we would like to see our home, and just feel safe, feel that, when the police are around, that things will be taken care of and taken care of in a correct way, So coming back to your question, sorry, I kind of went on a little tangent there, but, I like I said, I kind of listened in on some of the meetings. I read through some of the agendas. I did hear a bunch of the issues. I don't remember specific names or specific cases, but I do remember a lot of the instances had to do with harassment or, I forget the exact terminology, but coarse words or, basically harassment in general. Sorry, but I think that the way police officers address a situation, I give them credit because there's so many different ways and they're not really sure of what is about to happen. Someone can pull a weapon on them in a split second and they have to react, and they have to react in the correct way in that exact moment. Unless you're a robot, I don't expect anyone to be able to handle that situation exactly the correct way and exactly so-called, from a legal standpoint, a reasonable person. What is a reasonable person? Like, that is, it's a very broad question, but I think that, there's obviously training you can do beforehand with discrimination, how to handle certain situations. We do that with our companies, but we cannot prepare for every single situation. We have to rely and trust that they're gonna react and deal with that situation in a correct way. That you cannot prepare for everything. It's impossible, but you can try your best to prepare. And I guess that's kind of my answer to your question.
Okay, thank you, Committee Vice Chair Kea Aina. Members, any further questions? Councilmember Wire.
Oh, thank you, Chair. And mahalo, Mr. Conatiro, for your willingness to serve. I just wanted to dive into the time commitment I mean, I think, yeah, you're definitely qualified. I think you provide a diverse experience. I think with the police commission overseeing, our police department and working with our chief to make sure they receive everything that they need, I think it is good to have diverse perspectives, diverse voices. I think your legal training definitely helps with that. Time commitment wise, you think that given the responsibility you have with your business and then your family, you envision still being able to put forward all the time needed to meet the demands of the police commission?
Yes, I took that into heavy consideration, and I plan to be at the meetings. I plan to at least try to commit myself, and I'm not going to do something just halfway. If I'm going to do something, I'll do it 100%. So I did consider a lot of that. Yes.
Okay, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Wire. Okay, seeing no further questions from the members, I just had maybe a couple of follow-ups. Some of my questions I think were already asked, and I appreciate you reaching out to the members and as well as being able to meet with me in my office. And you have shared, and I thank you for being candid about not having, their direct experience with the department or even the commission prior to this. I look forward to what you have shared, how your work experience, you think you can be an asset or have that experience add value into a position as a commissioner. From my perspective, and some commissioners have been, I think, better at this than not. Not that it's a requirement, but in your mind, what is your relationship with the council? What would you like that to be? Because the mayor nominates, the council will then either approve or not approve the nomination, and then you're sworn in and put on your way. If this should go through, how do you see your relationship with the council after this?
Well, I invite any further discussion on any matter. I obviously have my own opinions about certain things, but I would love to continue the conversation with all of you to hear what are the hot topics that you would like to have more attention on. What are the sticking points or the pain points that you would like to have addressed? I don't want to posture myself as saying I know everything. I'm the best for this position, because it's gonna take a little bit of time for me to learn what is going on, how the dynamics of the commission works. But I'm confident that I'll be able to do that in a fairly short amount of time. But I serve at the leisure of mayor and the council. Yes, just because mayor appoints me, you, the council, confirm me. It's not just one person. That's where the balance of power of government comes from. So I serve the people, I serve the council, I serve the mayor, I serve everybody. So everybody's opinion and voice matters to me a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that. And I do appreciate you, again, answering the questions. I think we want to make sure that as we move forward, we're putting the best people forward. And I can tell that you have the desire and the passion, but we just make sure that it's the right fit. Because like you mentioned, it's a more publicized body, a more publicized commission. Thank you, Mr. Kaneshiro. Councilmember Toba?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Kaneshiro, can you tell us more about how your background experience complement the other members of the commission in assessing HPD?
Sure. Well, my understanding is I'm to replace Doug Chin, who obviously is a very respected individual in the community, and he's an attorney. So I'm an attorney. I'm not a practicing attorney, but I did have legal training. I did go to law school, so I kind of bring that point of view. I think for obvious reasons, I'm younger, so I'm not your typical candidate for this position. And I realize that there is some, if not a lot of scrutiny on my being placed on this and why am I being picked for this position. I had a long conversation with Mayor, and actually it was multiple conversations because he wanted me to join this commission. And at first, like I mentioned, I was opposed to it because of the very public nature, and I don't want to say controversial, but I think it is a very important function. And after a long time, I kind of figured that he's asking me for a reason. I think that I can fulfill what he's requesting of me on this commission. So I want to try. That's all. And to go back to Chair's comments earlier. If there's any criticisms of me personally on this commission, or if I'm not doing the right thing, I have no ego. If people say they don't want me on this commission, I don't have to be on this commission. I can step down. I don't have an ego. I don't need to be there. I don't want to say that like I'm all that or anything. I'm just saying that I'm going to try my best, and if people believe that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing on this commission, then I'll step out. So.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Tupola?
Thanks so much. And thank you, Chair, for allowing me to ask questions. I guess a follow-up question to Councilmember Toba is, I think it's important, and few people have said this, that you have a passion for this particular commission. This is tough. This commission, out of all the ones, this one's tough. What is the main reason or the main thing that the police commission does? Do you know?
Hire and fire the police chief.
When is his evaluation coming up?
I don't know the exact date, but I know they're going through it right now, the timeline and the planning of it.
So one of the things that's really hard for any commissioner, especially the commissioners that serve on the police commission, is asking those hard questions and doing the things that, maybe might not be popular. What is one of the things you've done that's been very difficult, that's received public scrutiny, that you can give to us as an example of how you'll be able to endure being on the police commission?
Public scrutiny, honestly not much. I guess the most public things, I tend to stay out of the public eye, honestly, but like I said, I did serve on the city zoning board of appeals. We've had decisions appealed up to the Supreme Court, and luckily they've sustained what we ruled in there, and I don't believe that we never did anything wrong, obviously, but I think we follow procedure, we follow legal advice, and I think that's all you can do in the end.
Yeah, I think the difference is that public safety commissions deal with people's lives. It deals with people's willingness and people's qualifications of dealing with other people's lives. So these ones are real careful. We only have a fire commission, we have a police commission. We're about to stand up an ocean safety commission, because there is a lot of public input on how we perform here at the city to save people's lives in public safety. So that's why I asked this question. That's how hard this commission is. That's how much we rely on the people on this commission to ask the right questions, the hard questions, do the follow-up, make sure they have time to do the follow-up outside of the meetings. Thank you for your answer, Mr. Kaneshiro. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Seeing no further, I had a follow-up just based on something that I think you mentioned a few minutes ago, Mr. Kaneshiro. You said you had met with the mayor, and I thank you for your honesty in this whole process. But you did say that it was after the mayor had explained to you why he wanted you on the commission and what he wanted to have you do as a commissioner. What exactly does that mean?
To put it shortly, visibility, accountability into the department, making sure that things are being done properly and people are on top of the ball generally. Without going into too much detail, I think that's generally what he was asking.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kaneshiro. Members, do we have any further questions for our nominee? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further questions for our nominee, we'll now proceed with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any registered or non-registered testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding on with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, we are in discussion. Discussion? Councilmember Tupola? Thank you.
I don't have a vote on this committee, but I'll just say a few words. I honestly, Chair, I really think this is a tough commission. I think this is an important commission. I think we're in some crucial times. So I really think that knowing that we have the right commission members is important. I know the mayor's team, the administration is concerned about that as well. And, I hope this body does the right thing, because I think, to be honest, changing out commission members and kind of the sentiment of what's going on the commission right now, whether or not the officers feel like the things that they need to happen are happening. Those are really important points to know when you're about to step on a commission like this. So whatever happens, I would encourage the nominee, if it goes through, to do more due diligence. It's important for our officers. I mean, these guys put their lives on the line. That's how important this is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Members, any further discussion? Councilmember Tolba?
Thank you, Chair. I'll be voting with reservations. I support the administration and the mayor. It's hard to find trusted individuals for these police commissions. And I'm a little concerned that this is a big lift for Mr. Kanashiro based on some of the answers from today. So I'll be voting with reservations.
Thank you, Councilmember Tolba. Committee Vice Chair Kia Aina, followed by Councilmember Wire? No?
Thank you, Chair. This is going to be very difficult for me because I think if I didn't care about the future of HPD or even the police commissioner, I would just oblige and vote yes, but I cannot. Just based on my 4.5 years of going through all of the other commissioners, and if you look at all of the other commissioners, they actually bring something to the table, whether it be their professional experience or their lived experiences. And so that diversity is very important. And so for me, it should be reflected in your personal, professional experience, your lived experience, and then the passion or interest in the future of HPD or contributing has to be real. It cannot be aspirational, wishing to learn more about the process and to do good, because I firmly believe that Mr. Kanashiro believes that, but it is still insufficient for me to support his nomination, given the magnitude of the real challenges that HPD is facing. And so we need a nominee that would help to strengthen the overall diversity of the current commission with different skill set. And I'm assuming this nominee is replacing Doug Chin, who was a former managing director, right? Who has been in private practice for a long time. So I will be voting no against this nomination.
Thank you, Committee Vice Chair Kia Aina. Councilmember Wire, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, I think you're asking for discussion. I mean, I'd be supporting the resolution. Like I said, appreciate Mr. Kanashiro's willingness to step forward. I think this is a great opportunity for generational diversity. I think as, the next generation is stepping into the workforce or building up, I mean, Mr. Kanashiro has an extensive resume. And I think in looking at bringing that perspective to such an important council or commission, I think is of value, right? I think understanding all the challenges each segment of our community is facing right now, from those that are retired all the way to those that are having young families and navigating the current struggles. And just from what he's shared today, I feel like it was pretty transparent and authentic. And so those are qualities that really stood out to me as someone that I would want on the police commission that's so important, someone that's gonna just speak straight from the heart and what they're thinking. And I think he did share insight into some of the issues that our law enforcement officers are navigating right now. And so he did show an understanding of that, right? Just the complexity of the increased regulations they have to operate in, on top of the issues they're confronting in the community, from homelessness to, mental health issues. I think all of our individual folks on every commission bring a different quality and bring a different background. And so I think in terms of the resolution before us today, yeah, I'm more than happy to support if Chair's going to move it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice Chair Wire. Members, any further discussion? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, and noting that we have a with reservations vote from Councilmember Tolba and a no vote from Committee Vice Chair Kia Aina, the Chair recommends that Resolution 25-101 be reported out for adoption. Any further objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving on to agenda item number, I'm going to thank Mr. Kaneshiro again for being here with us and for taking the hard questions today. Moving on to agenda item number 3, resolution 25-157. This resolution accepts a gift to the city of travel, room accommodations, and related expenses valued at $1,642.99 from Incident Management Teams Association, or IMTA, for the Director of Emergency Management to attend the IMTA Strategic Management Meeting in Columbia, South Carolina from June 21st to 22nd, 2025. With us today, we have our Director of Department of Emergency Management, Director Randall Collins. Aloha, good afternoon. Oh, if you could push the button on the right and then just introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Council. Randy Collins, Director of Emergency Management. Pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you, Director, and thank you for being here with us. Maybe if you could just explain to us what the conference is and how the money, again, will be used, but I kind of said in the summary.
Well, the Incident Management Teams Association is a professional association that represents incident management team members all across the country, actually all across the world. I've been involved with that organization since its inception in 2010. They are having a session where all the board members from all across the country are going to come together and develop a strategic working plan on how incident management is going to evolve. It's going to be pretty significant since the changes that are happening at the federal level with emergency and incident management. So they're funding the travel for me to go over there and participate in the planning sessions.
Thank you, and thank you for the explanation. Members, are there any questions for the Director? Seeing none, we'll now proceed with in-person oral testimony in the Council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding now with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there's someone with a hand raised. We're not sure who that is.
So I see a hand raised for the phone number ending with 175. If you could unmute and then just state your name and identify yourself. I think you can press *9. State your name for the record.
Yeah, this is still good. I'm just waiting for the agenda.
Excuse me, sir. We are unable to hear what you are saying. Is there a better? No.
Hello? It's okay.
Oh, okay. If you would like to maybe come back and try a different method, you can let us know by raising your hand again. If not, we will be moving on. Clerks, do we have any other remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Okay. So I just want to make sure, so the person with the last 3 digits, 175, I want to make sure that you have the opportunity. If you would like to testify, please raise your hand right now and we will pause. Okay, seeing no further testifiers, the chair recommends that resolution 25-157 be reported out for adoption. Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. I'd like to welcome to the chamber Councilmember Cordero. Thank you for joining us. Moving on to agenda item number 4, resolution 25-143. This resolution accepts a gift to the city valued at $35,000 from the Waikiki Transportation Management Association Special Improvement District for the Honolulu Police Department's District 6 in Waikiki to address illegal activities, including parking violations in Waikiki. With us today, we have Major Brandon Ogata from the Honolulu Police Department. Aloha, good afternoon, Major Ogata.
Aloha, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Brandon Ogata. I'm the major with the Waikiki Patrol District, Honolulu Police Department.
Thank you. And would you like to just maybe explain this fee, and it's specifically for Waikiki, but could the department just expound on anything that they'd like to share on how the fee would be used?
Sure. This is an annual gift that the Waikiki Transportation Management Association and Special Improvement District offer us, and we use it to address parking issues, primarily focused around the difficult areas of Kalakaua Avenue, Kuhio, also freight zones. We use it for that specific purpose.
Thank you. And I have to correct myself, not fee, but the fund.
Yes.
Thank you. And do you guys do this every year?
Yeah,
You receive
every
this
year.
every
This
year.
has been an ongoing gift.
Okay, thank you. Members, if we have any questions for our major. Yes, Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much, Major, for being here. Quick question: when you guys get this, which, as you said, it's annual. I wish people was giving us gifts for officers to enforce, but when you guys get it, how do you divvy this up? Is this hourly wages, or like how do you use the funds?
Thank you for the question. So what we do is we actually develop projects to address the specific parking issues, and there we track it and fund it in that manner.
So it's like a special project fund.
Special projects.
Oh, okay. So it's not for salaries for more officers or anything like that.
Not in that sense. We just basically have our available staff members and we set up projects for them to do to specifically address these parking issues.
So does some of the money go towards equipment purchase at all, or is it?
I couldn't tell you historically. Normally, not. I've only been here about 6 months, but we use it specifically for projects.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Any further questions, members? Okay, seeing none. Thank you so much, Major Ogata, for being here. We'll now proceed with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding on with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any registered or non-registered remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, we are in discussion. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-143 be reported out for adoption. Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving on to agenda item number 5, Resolution 25-128. This resolution authorizes the Honolulu Police Department and its designees to use overt video monitoring in the city and county of Honolulu parks for a 1-year pilot program in at least one park per council district to be identified by the council member assigned to that district. A public hearing on this resolution was held on May 14, 2025. Members, please note that we posted on the agenda a proposed CD1 amendment submitted by Councilmember Cordero, identified as OCS 2025-05/5/23/2025 at 11:56 a.m., and a summary of the amendments was also posted. We also posted on the agenda the proposed amendments from each of the 9 council members naming the park or parks in their council district to be considered for the pilot program. Listed as communications, as related communications, CC-153 to CC-155 and CC-157 to CC-162. And if it's, I'd like to turn the time now over to Councilmember Cordero, the introducer of this resolution.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you, Committee Chair Okimoto, for allowing us to discuss this resolution today. I know that we talked about this in the committee, in the council meeting, but mainly it is to assist as well as curb any public safety concerns in any of our parks. In my CD1, you'll notice that I've added also park and rides, and I do note the different council communications from all of our colleagues on the council here. I know that there are a wide variety of lists of parks, and so I just want to ensure that when we do this pilot, that it's not like all at once, but we'll work together with the administration or parks, or as well as HD and DIT, to ensure that it's something that is feasible and just be able to be handled. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. With us today, I believe we do have Major Gail Beckley. Oh, I'm sorry. We have Assistant Chief Brian Lynch with us today from the Honolulu Police Department. Aloha, good afternoon. Assistant Chief Lynch.
Aloha, thank you for having me. Assistant Chief Brian Lynch, Honolulu Police Department. I am here to answer any questions you might have regarding this topic. So fire away.
Okay, members, do you have any questions for the testifier? Who's ready? Councilmember Toba.
Thank you, Chair. Assistant Chief Lynch, is there like stats that this, in other counties, have this worked? Because I know a lot of people, and I have concerns about Big Brother, but has this been effective? Because if it is, I would like to see it expand possibly to help until we can get enough officers out there patrolling. We know the challenges and one of the reasons why I'm supporting it, but is there clear data showing that this is effective or not effective?
Good question. I agree with what you're saying. Right now, is there specific data that says that this technology would give us this result? No. We do have a pilot that we've been trying to do in East Honolulu. I think it's almost been 1.5 years, 2 years. I just literally got a text at lunch today that somebody bid on it. So when we get that going, then we could have some data. But if we were to look at the commercial market and we were to look at, say, Safeway or Home Depot, Lowe's, they have those camera trailers in their parking lots and they pay probably big money for that. So I would say, there's a huge security firm interest in these products. So I would say yes, and I'm confident that when we do a pilot, it's gonna prove that it's a viable option to help combat crime.
Thank you, Chair. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Toba. Any other questions, members? Councilmember Tupola, then Councilmember Cordero.
Aloha, good afternoon, and congratulations on your new position, Assistant Chief Lynch. I think for our district, we had from Major Events Division a couple come over. Did that not happen? Or I thought Major Beckley said we had one that came to Waianae.
So from what I know, we arranged to have the use of these camera trailers in Waianae. The MED trailers were purchased with federal grant money, which has certain requirements for its usage. And one of those requirements is it has to be for Homeland Security. So there's a restriction on its use. So we can't just although I would love to just go park it somewhere in a park or somewhere out that side, but we don't have that option. I'm interested in getting the east side one going, and maybe things have changed since then and we can change it up a little and have one of these other trailers that we're trying to get going. Maybe we can start it out there. I think it's a huge viable option out Waianae side.
How many of those are under the federal funding that you're mentioning?
I want to say we have 2.
Yeah, I thought it was 2.
Yeah.
Okay, because I did a resolution similar to this, but I think I just wanted to know if it was stuck or moving. So it sounds like maybe there's some prohibitions. Let's touch base and see what we can do. Because I think you guys have them. I just don't want them to not be utilized. But if we can't, we can't. But let's find some ways around it.
I would welcome that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Assistant Chief. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Hi, Assistant Chief Lynch, and congratulations.
Thank you.
So what type of crimes are most commonly reported at our parks?
I'm sorry.
What type of crimes are most commonly reported from city parks?
Well, city parks, that's a wide range. Some are parks, some don't look like parks. Some parks, you don't get to park at the park, so you got to walk to the park. If you park at a park, you're looking at break-ins to cars. We call it UEMV. That's a common event that we do experience out in the east side. At parks at night, there are nefarious activities that occur because it should be closed. There's park hours, but obviously some people don't like to abide by those rules. So these cameras in certain parks would be effective. I believe the cameras. This proposal is kind of open-ended in the sense that it's not clear on who's responsible for it, the budget for it, the maintenance of it. And not that I don't want to put, my opinion is we should have a kind of a say where it goes.
Yeah.
Versus we put it in a park that really doesn't have any issues, and then there's a park that's not on the list that has a whole bunch of issues. So I think we should use the crime stats to determine
Certainly.
which parks we should start with. And, you know, ideally, if we could pay for it, it might be something we could put at all the parks. But, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe eventually, because this is just a pilot, right? And we want to be able to ensure that after a pilot, like, did it work? How has the public's reaction been to it? And once again, you know, utilizing the crime stats to place them in other parts of parks or city facilities. So, and as for the open-endedness, we were hoping that before the implementation of a program or project like this, that it would be discussed from now until the next, up until the proposed budget being proposed to the council, so that it can be reflected in the next budget.
Yeah, that would be important because you'd have to identify the technology that you want to use. You know,
Yeah.
some are a little bit more expensive than others.
Oh,
The
yeah.
quantities, you know, versus we just say yes, and then after we say yes, it's more than we really want to spend. So, to me, it's a great idea. I mean, I think we're kind of behind the times
Yeah.
without it.
Thank you, Assistant Chief Lynch, and thank you, Chair Okimoto.
Thank you, Council Floor Leader Cordero. Any further questions for HPD? I had a couple of questions. if
Sure.
That's okay. And I know you've kind of touched on some of them. You mentioned the current surveillance. We've passed here in this body other pilot programs or other areas. So with the current surveillance programs that's been authorized by the city, including those intended for scenic lookouts and public areas, has the department encountered any operational, technical, or logistical challenges in deploying or maintaining these systems?
So let me be clear that that particular East Side project still has not even launched. Our challenges were the process, the purchasing process. We had put out a bid. Somebody won the bid, but then it ended up they couldn't meet the requirements of the bid. So then we were required to put out a second bid. And I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but it got held up at BFS forever. And so if there's an easier way to do it, I mean, that should be another topic for you folks. But if we can clean that up and pull trigger on what it is that we were trying to do, then, you know, we can be that much farther ahead of this topic than we currently are now.
Thank you. I think you answered my second question, which was what timeline are we looking at? So we still haven't started it. The bidding didn't go out.
The bid, somebody apparently bidded today, I want to say. And so when they bid, then there's a contractual thing that they got to do. That's all the finance stuff. That could be a month or so. And then when that person clears all the things that they got to clear, then they deliver the product and then we can deploy it how we want it to.
What types of costs are we looking at? We know that we can't do it for this year. You mentioned that it would have to, Councilmember Cordero mentioned we have to look at it for the next fiscal year. But based on what we were looking at for the east side cameras that haven't been yet installed, what would we be looking at for something like this pilot program?
So again, we would have to identify the technologies and the equipment that we want to use. But
do you have a rough ball? I mean, a rough estimate?
Our budget was $65,000 for the current project that we're working on, and that would allow us to have at least 3 trailers to place at 4 or 5 scenic lookouts. You know, the strength of the trailer is it can move, right? So once we get things happening in one place, we can move it to the other place that's not happening, right? Again, it's the technology. You could take these cameras and you could strap it to a pole at a park. That might be cheaper. I think you lose the deterrence that the trailer provides with the blue light and the big mast. I mean, that basically tells, you know, the bad guys, you know, we don't want to go do business over here. We're going to have to go do somewhere else. So I think to answer your question, it's $65,000, which would allow us to run the pilot for only 6 months with 3 wagons.
And that was, you said 3
camera trailer things.
trailers.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in the department's experience, I mean, I'm guessing we can't talk about the east cameras because they haven't been yet set up, but in other areas, how long is it taking the department to receive video footage?
The footage is fast. You know, if it's footage that's in our control, instantaneous. If it's footage, say, from...
It's not in our control.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, if it's not in our control, because these would not be.
Yeah, so
these would
if
be
it's
contracted out.
not under control, there's some legalese that we need to work our way through where we have to, so for instance, one of the things in our bid was that the company should have a local representative here. A lot of these companies are from the mainland. So, and we have to do that because prosecutors requires a representative from the company that owns the DVR that records the video has to be available to show up for court. So that's one of the it's not a sticking point, but it's just an issue that needs to be addressed. So to answer your question, it's not hard, it's fairly easy. For court purposes, there's paperwork and stuff like that, but if something were to happen and we wanted to check the camera per se, you're talking half an hour to an hour, if that.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, good to know. Thank you. Members, do we have any other questions for Assistant Chief Lynch? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Before I go over to testimonies, is there somebody here from Parks, from DPR? There is? Oh, okay. Is that okay if we have you come up and then, I just had a couple of questions before we go to testimony and then discussion after.
Good afternoon. Ted Hayden for Department of Park and Recreation.
Thank you, and thank you for being here with us. So this is affecting, or is, it's going to impact, hopefully in a positive way, our parks. Currently, what capacity does the department have to support and facilitate this type of implementation for the programs, this envision for this pilot program in this resolution?
So a lot of that would depend on how much involvement we would need to be in it, because we currently have about 165 cameras spread across 16 parks within the department. And they're not actively monitored. So the way that it works is if an event does occur, then HPD can request the footage and then we go through the process of getting them what they need. So that doesn't really require much resources on our end.
Okay. I'm trying to understand because it sounds like, I mean, this program seems to, I'm curious to know if it's going to impact us resource-wise. So if we were to have this go through, you're saying we have 165 cameras spread throughout parks, and you're saying it doesn't take a lot of extra resources. But with this resolution, would this require the department to have additional staffing, funding, and other types of resources to fulfill the purpose of the program?
I think a lot of that would depend on what types of systems we're going to be using, what the technology is. Like the assistant chief was saying. So, if it's active monitoring or something like that, it would require more resources. But yeah, again, it really depends on what the implementation will be.
In the department's opinion, where would you like to see the extent of, how far would you like the extent to be for this type of pilot program in this resolution?
We definitely support it, and we would actively work with HPD and DIT, whoever is in charge of it. And we think it's a great idea, and we definitely need it. There is a significant amount of crime that occurs in parks, especially after hours. So we would definitely be supportive of it and work with anybody who is running it in whatever capacity they need.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Councilmember Tupola and then Councilmember Cordero.
Hi, aloha, Deputy, and thank you, Chair, for your questions. If it gets past, a pilot and we start to expand it, we already just worked with DPR and HPD on doing a MOU for Kapolei Regional. So I think if there is, hey, what are you doing versus what are we doing, we'd probably just pursue a MOU between the both of you guys. So to be honest, I think your answer should be that Parks does nothing because I do think that HPD has to be solely over this. But if there is questions on jurisdiction, protection, who's monitoring it, then you guys should just step into a MOU. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Deputy. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Council Floor Leader Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Deputy Director. Sorry, excuse me. I was just wondering if, since it's going to be housed at parks and, including the MOU that may or may not be used in this type of a scenario, maybe moving forward, and I don't think we need a resolution or any type of policy to set this, but if this does move forward and get adopted, would you be open to starting a working group together with all the agencies involved and also including myself, maybe, I don't know if that's possible, so that we can figure out what is best and who will be the key agencies responsible for it, as well as, yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
We would be happy to be part of that conversation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Any further questions? No? Okay. Thank you so much, Deputy.
Thank you.
We'll now proceed with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, yes, we do.
Aloha and good afternoon. I see we have with us Deborah King.
Hi, yes, hi,
Hello.
aloha, committee chair and members of the committee. My name is Deborah King, and I'm a resident of Chinatown. And I agree with Councilmember Toba. I do have concerns with Big Brother. However, I do support this resolution because as I've attended some of my neighborhood downtown Chinatown board meetings, whenever the police testify about conviction for certain crimes, it's always we have to observe it. So a lot of times those people that are detained, they get off because they weren't able to properly observe it. And I believe this will give an avenue to help put those people away. And just reading in some of the news articles, we have a lot going on that we may not be observing, and I think that this may catch and enforce some of those things. And I hope that there becomes a day that we don't need this, but I think that right now we do. So thank you so much for hearing my testimony.
Thank you, Ms. King. Members, any questions for the testifier? Okay, seeing none. Thank you so much. Clerks, do we have any other in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, we'll now proceed with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers?
Chair, we have someone raising their hand.
Okay, again, I see the phone number ending with 175. If you could press *9 on your phone and then state your name.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Yes, we can. I'm sorry, sir. Now we have lost audio.
Can you hear me now?
Now we just heard that, correct?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Right there, yes,
Hello?
we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm in strong support of this, and in fact, I think the police should go further and have it AI compatible to help out with the shortage of police officers. This can be a great tool for them. It can identify crime in real time and alert them. And also, Director Lambert from the Department of Law Enforcement, he was giving a proposal at the last neighborhood board meeting in Waikiki on this same subject. I hope you guys talk with him also. Thank you.
If you could state your name for the record, Mr. Garrity, if you could just so we could have it on record.
Tim Gary.
Thank you very much. Members, do we have any questions for the testifier? Seeing none. Clerks, do we have any other remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, seeing no further testifiers, we are in discussion. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. May I ask if DIT could come up before us, please? I do have a question as it relates to the ability, oh, sorry, I'll wait.
I'd like to welcome with us, thank you so much. If you could again state your name and you can proceed with your questions.
Oh, sorry, Deputy Director, can you state your name for the record?
Yes, Stephen Courtney, Deputy Director, Department of Information Technology.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Director. I was wondering for the existing city networks that are at parks currently, how are those supported connection-wise?
Okay, well, it's a number of different ways. There's portions that are wireless and other portions that are provided by fiber. But basically, in order to get the cameras to work, we need power and a network connection primarily. So we use a number of like point-to-point connections to provide that within the parks.
Okay, thank you. And so are those live video, like live monitored transmissions, or are they just recorded and then you just look for the timestamp and you just give them to HPD?
Primarily, I mean, it is a live feed, but my understanding, there's nobody monitoring it. It's used after the fact for investigation.
Mm-hmm. And then I know that it was mentioned that maybe it'll take like half an hour or so to get the transmitted video to HPD, or just to be able to view it and then transfer it. Is that the case for a lot of the types of technologies that we're using currently?
Well, I'm not sure about that particular case, but in regards to the cameras that DIT manages, I think those can be provided pretty fast in regards to to that footage.
Okay, got it. And how is this feasible for DIT to stand up if we were to just roll it out periodically, and each of them would have like a year to see how the data will help deter any actions?
Okay. Well, again, for DIT, our perspective on it, we just provide the engineering design of it.
Okay.
We have to get the direction from HPD in regards to where it should be installed. And from there, then we have to get some requirement, because it depends on the location. If it has a fiber connection, we can guarantee a particular speed. But if it doesn't have a fiber connection, then we have to work out different ways in order to provide that. So again, it depends.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I know that you mentioned that there's a variety of technology, one. Two, the different types of connections that each parks may have capacity-wise and capability-wise, as well as, I guess, looking at the crime stats, but also the recommendations from the council members. Would you be open to just working as a working group with all the multiple agencies so that we will be able to not monitor, but see that the efforts are at least moving forward?
Yes, we'd be willing to be part of that. And just to give you some perspective in regards to, as you know, we have been working with Chinatown quite a bit, but historically, if you go back to the late 1990s, when originally there were like 26 cameras installed back then, and the problem is that everybody got out to install them, but nobody thought about the maintenance of it. And that was the failure of that, because it got down to like, today I believe like maybe 3 of those cameras are working possibly. So maintenance is a big part of it. But even for the ones we have today, because of the salt and the air, I guess the ocean air in here, you also have to make sure just the cleaning of the lenses as well, because they will get cloudy, and you have to make sure that there is some convincing footage with it as well. So again, the maintenance is a big part of it.
Understood. So, the resolution isn't like directing you to do it immediately. So we hope that we can look toward a viable pilot project or program that we can then usher forward moving forward, if this moves forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Any further questions for DIT members? Okay, thank you so much, Deputy Director. Members, any further discussion? Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the introducer for being so inclusive. I really appreciate being able to list our parks down. I know I took it over the top and listed the most parks, which is what we do in our district. It's my number one issue in my district is safety at our beach parks. So I appreciate her thoroughness and even asking questions like, how do we maintain these cameras? Because I do appreciate the pilots, but I think the reality is like we really need a good program yeah, that DIT is a part of, that Parks understands, that HP is getting viable evidence from, that we can use to keep our communities safe. So thank you very much to the introducer. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Members, any further discussion? Committee Vice Chair Kia
I
Aina.
just wanted to commend Councilmember Cordero for taking this on. It's direly needed, and you know, the DPR staff on the ground who work with all of us, all of our offices, were more than willing to help because we're helping them. And in some of our districts, it depends on the parks, right? There's a lot of, there could be a lot of a diversity of challenges, but in one of my parks, my top priority is homelessness, and it's very difficult, and it's challenging for our communities. But of course, those who are going to the parks, for example, and then of course our HPD officers, it's very difficult. So I just wanted to say thank you, because I think this is a move in the right direction, and hopefully we can see some permanency in the long run.
Thank you, Committee Vice Chair Kia Aina. Councilmember Cordero?
Thank you. Just one last word. Again, thank you, Chair, for hearing this. I do want to note that just as much as we support empowering our neighbors to either be a part of neighborhood security watches or be the eyes, ears, noses on the ground in our communities, everyone can't be everywhere, especially during park closures at all the time. So hopefully with this, we won't need to always just like be peeking out of our window, looking at the next park. Like I can see over to Honolulu Valley Park from my parents' house, so I won't have to be like sneaking and looking and making sure that there's the HPD officer there monitoring the trail. But so other than that, it's really just a tool, and hopefully, like Deborah mentioned, the testifier, we won't have this need anymore, but this really is just a tool to help us really track the instances that have occurred and increased throughout our communities. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Any further discussion? I'd like to also mahalo Council Floor Leader Cordero for the effort that you and your team put into this. I know you were very mindful. I want to thank my team for working so nicely with your team as well, and to all the council members who gave their input. I really liked it. It was such a collaborative opportunity for all of us, and so specific to the needs in our district. And I think, you know, in general, I do have to agree with Councilmember Tolba and what was shared by the testifier, to find that balance, that fine line of making sure that we respect people's privacy and not overstepping that boundary. But we do know that the park vandalism and issues that are dealing with public safety in our parks is more rampant now than we'd like it to be. So I think this is a great step in the right direction. I look forward to working with HPD. That was interesting to hear that they also will have statistics on which parks we can suggest from our experiences what we know to be the areas that we feel are being plagued. But I think it's a good, again, another opportunity to partner with the department as well as parks and DIT to make sure that this is the best program that we can. And I do commend you again. I appreciate the efforts that you've made, because if the goal is to keep our communities safe, and that's what we all want, we want to go in that direction. I also want to be mindful of our taxpayer dollars as we move forward. I'm thankful that Deputy Director from DIT mentioned that we can put things into place, but we have to also consider the reality of maintenance and the cost of that. So as we are responsible for our taxpayer dollars, what are we doing to make sure that the program is built properly? But mahalo again, it's such a great, I'm looking forward to what we can do to keep our community safe with this measure. Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-128 be amended to the posted proposed CD1 identified as OCS 2025-0452. Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution is amended to CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 25-128 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Members, moving on to agenda item number 6, Council Communication CC-124 2025. This is a draft committee report on the review and evaluation of the Honolulu Fire Commission pursuant to Chapter 3, Article 15, Revised Ordinances of Honolulu 2021. This committee will take action on the draft report, making recommendations to the council on whether the charter provisions establishing the commission should be retained, amended, or repealed. We have included in this draft report the committee's findings and the recommendations that the Honolulu Fire Commission be retained in the charter and that no modifications or revisions be made at this time. Members, if you recall at our last committee meeting on May 1st, 2025, Council Chair Waters asked that the Commission revise item number 5 on their report to remove the comments made regarding the Council's misplacement of annual evaluations of the Fire Chief, and therefore the committee took no action on the draft committee report. The Chair of the Fire Commission agreed to amend the report, which was received by the City Clerk on May 22nd, 2025. You have a copy of the report in your binder, and it is also available online as Department Communication D-385. Is he here? Okay. Okay. At this time, members, we will take up testimony first. Clerks, do we have any oral testimony in person in the council chamber?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you. We will now proceed with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers, either registered or non-registered?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no testimony or testifiers, we will now proceed. With us, we have from the Honolulu Fire Commission Chair, Mr. David Matlin. Oh, remotely. Okay, he is online. Aloha and good afternoon, Chair Matlin.
Aloha, Chair Okamoto, Vice Chair, committee members, and City Council. Appreciate the opportunity being here.
Thank you. Maybe if you could just give a quick update of what transpired since our last meeting up until leading up to today.
Yeah. You know, the only thing is we amended the document, which was a little dated, made it more accurate. And you know, other than that, last time when I just talked, I gave an overview about where the commission was as far as engagement, the working groups we've created, some efficiencies we've done with creating a portal, and we are going to have our offsite meeting. We're trying to take our committee meetings out. I think we talked about that. Our meeting in June will be at the Kapolei station. So we're trying to go out to the community, at least to have at least one a year, if not a couple a year, in different locations.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Matlin. Members, do we have any questions for the testifier? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Chair Matlin, for being online for us.
Thank you.
Okay. Members, we are in discussion. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that committee report be reported out for scheduling of a public hearing and adoption. Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so order. Moving on to the last item on the agenda, item number 7, Resolution 25-160. With this resolution will establish a police department staffing and retention task force composed of 9 representatives from various city agencies and outside organizations to address the vacancies and officer retention of the Honolulu Police Department. And I would like to now extend the time over to Councilmember Tupola, who is the introducer of this resolution.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for listing this on your agenda today. In summary, the lapsing of $50 million out of this department was alarming. Nonetheless, there are huge amounts of vacancies, things that need to be improved, and so we don't want to see that quantity of money lapse without a valid plan of how we're going to address those issues. So I think that on page 2, this list of 9 people will be sufficient, and we had a meeting with yourself and with the commission chair as well as Chief Logan, who all agreed that a written plan about addressing the vacancies, and not just recruitment, also retention, but a written plan that delineates budget line items of how we can fund each of the things that we think will help the department move forward. I want to thank Managing Director Formby. He has been with me through this whole process, very responsive. He's been participating in a lot of these discussions, so he's included as well in the list of 9 people. And the various unions that are listed are because they also play a role. They play a role in their collective bargaining. They play a role in, acknowledging the things that maybe chief thinks would be helpful to retain or recruit particular positions that are vacant. And lastly, I do think that having a representative from another police department would also be a good addition to expanding the amount of information that we have. So my hopes is, and I do thank Chair Silva for submitting testimony and support. My hope is that this task force will be thorough, but will be quick, and that we'll have a written plan that we can then present to the council, and then we can track the success of that plan because it will be specific. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Members, I believe we have with us in our chamber today Major Parker Bodie from Honolulu Police Department. Thank you, Major Bodie. I couldn't see you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and council members. My name is Parker Bodie, Major of the Human Resources Division at the Honolulu Police Department. We support the intent of the task force, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have regarding recruitment and retention.
Thank you, Major Bodie. Members, do we have any questions for the testifier? Committee Vice Chair Kiaina.
Thank you. I have a question with regard to the time frame, and as someone who's written other resolutions requiring updates, I know sometimes idealistically we'd like to have something kind of chop, right? 90 days. And the reality is it's challenging sometimes. So my question to you, is it realistic to use because I fully support this measure, but do you think that's realistic, or is 180 days more realistic?
I mean, the sooner the better. I mean, at this point, we got over 450 vacancies.
Yeah.
The sooner the better.
But yeah, I know. But who's going to write it? Are you going to write it? I'm serious. See, it's always good to have these ideas and everything, and a lot of us want things due yesterday, right? But I just want to be prudent here because, first of all, we need to find out who's going to write it. Have you contemplated who's going to write it?
No, I haven't thought about that.
And so that's critically important, because otherwise then we're putting a requirement where you guys just meet and talk story and then there's no product. So I am concerned about that, and I don't know if Councilmember Tupola wants to opine on perhaps who may write it. So I think 90 days might be unrealistic unless someone is just going to go home from work and be writing this in the evening. I think you need to think about who's going to do that before you guys set this time frame. So that's my only concern. But I did look at the composition, Councilmember Tupola, and I thought you did a very thorough job. And so I support this. I'm worried about the time frame, and I'm worried about who will write it. And who writes it is important with regard to the quality of the product and the thoroughness of what this resolution is requiring. I showed, because we're about to hopefully stand up an agricultural task force for the city, and I showed that the report was one page, unsatisfactory. And I said, if anybody was seeking to be on this next commission, do not apply if they felt that that was satisfactory. So that's my only questions, but you answered it because you don't know, which is a little concerning. And so I think that we need to contemplate that.
No, thank you, Committee Vice Chair Kiaina. Just to clarify, so what would be a realistic time frame to have this type of report that's being requested or proposed today?
The recruitment strategy that I shared with you folks earlier this month, that was drafted within a month, and it was implemented shortly thereafter. So we can do it as little as that. It really depends on what the strategies are, how in-depth they are. If there are things that we're already working on that overlap, I think it really depends on the strategies, suggestions, recommendations that are made from the task force will depend on how much or how long it's going to take to draft.
Okay, thank you, Major Bodie. Councilmember Tupola, and then Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, of course, for your presentation. I think the work you do, your presentations are thorough. I do commend you on the work that you've done thus far. I hope that you are number 8 on my list. I do not know if it will be you, but I did list down a current Honolulu police officer to be appointed by the council. I wanted it to be somebody that was expertise from the chief's, staff that could join this task force. I will say that I have a outline with quite a bit of sections. So I did meet with the major from dispatch. I heard their strategy of what they need for the dispatchers. I did meet with other majors as far as like hearing their concerns. Since this all happened, since the 50 million lapse, I've had hundreds of emails of suggestions. So I've categorized them. I've ordered them because I can't have a million people on this task force, but I'm hoping that those are some of the things that we can provide to the task force so that there's like a little bit of a framework to follow. Not to say you haven't done it all, but there are outside people that called me. 2 police officers from Honolulu that now run HR in other cities called me, and they gave me some suggestions as well. So I think as far as suggestions, I'm pretty full, but I think we just got to order them, figure out who's going to do what. Will HGEA do this? Is SHOPO involved in this one? Is this one actually DHR and not the unions that has to handle this suggestion? So you did graduate Kamehameha, right?
Yes, correct.
So I am guessing your work is stellar. I'm hoping your work is stellar. I know for me, I personally pride myself on doing good work, good reports, good writing. So I can confirm to you, Chair, especially since you attended the meeting that we were all at, that we can't be burning days. This is a big issue. By the end of this year, we don't want to hit 500. We don't. So I think if we have the wherewith to do it, I think we got to push ourselves to do the 90 days, because I think this would behoove and would help the chief, especially because his evaluation is coming up, the commission is, so there's pieces I think that we need to get done so that all we know is where are the gaps. I need to know as a council member, are there gaps that we're supposed to be filling that we're not? Is DHR missing the boat on a few things? Could we tell them? Is HGEA missing the boat on a few things? Could we include them? So I think that's where we are. There's a lot of ideas. We come up with a plan, timelines, funding, who's doing what steps, and then we have to start executing before the end of 2025. That's my thought, is like once the report comes out, everyone feels good about it. HPD feels good. The commission feels good. All the union guys are on board with whatever steps they have to take. Like you said, create, accept it, execute it. So thank you very much for being a part of all of these discussions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Before I turn the time over to Councilmember Cordero, I just want to ask the chair of our next committee, if it's okay, we should be ending soon. Could we have your committee start maybe 5 minutes after this one? Oh, thank you. Okay. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, I'll try to ask this really quick. Major, how well do you work with the finance division during the budget process as it goes through the council?
You're talking about BFS?
In HPD.
HPD, we work well together.
Okay, so HPD's...
Councilmember Cordero, sorry, could I appoint you as a voting member of the committee?
Yes. 100%. Okay, HPD's finance division, as they come before the city council, as we go through the proposed budget from the city administration, have seen a number of different proposals relating to retention and recruitment. And one of them was, I think, Councilmember Tupola's and Councilmember Kia'aina and my first year in 2021 or 2022 was a provision account specifically in general funds outside of the HPD budget for recruitment and retention. We know that you folks have your own funding as well, but we really wanted to ensure that we counter the different recruiting tactics that, the port city of Seattle and other different cities were doing, right? Coming over here, telling people go over there. So anyway, my whole point is there are specific steps forward that HPD Finance Division would mention to us as a council that they would do to address what we were trying to put into the budget. So with that, I do want to note, and I'm sure Councilmember Tupola would already have this in mind to do, but to look back at those past budgets and past responses from HPD through the Managing Director's Office, so you'll be able to see what the council proposed, what HPD Finance Division responded with, and as it relates to recruitment and retention, because we really want to support you guys. We really, really do, but we can't do it if HPD admin is stopping us. So thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Okay, at this time, members, I'm going to proceed with testimony, and then we can go back to discussion. Thank you, Major Bodie.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so members will now proceed with testimony, in-person testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. Aloha, and good afternoon again, Ms. King.
Good afternoon, aloha. Committee Chair and members of the committee, thank you for hearing my testimony on this resolution. I did not previously send any written testimony because as I was looking at Resolution 25-128, I realized that this actually goes hand in hand with that, looking at it from a resident standpoint. I have been writing to state officials and local officials about living wages and benefits. So I do strongly support this resolution, and for the sake of time, I will submit some written testimony. Thank you very much.
Thank you, members. Did we have any questions for the testifier? Okay, seeing none. Clerks, do we have any other in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers?
Chair, yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. I believe we have Mr. Eddie Fujioka on line with us. Aloha, good afternoon, Mr. Fujioka.
Aloha, Chair Okimoto and members of the City Council. I've submitted written testimony. I'll stand by that testimony. I was going to comment on specific positions that I felt should be targeted, and I'm really happy that Councilwoman Tupuola mentioned dispatchers. During my time at the JTMC, I've noticed that the police department has always been short of dispatchers. They're the primary answering point or PSAP for the County of Honolulu, which means every 911 call must go through the police department, and it's routed to fire, EMS, or ocean safety. Their dispatchers, too, are the only dispatchers who are non-uniform personnel, which means they make the lowest wages of any dispatcher in the county, yet they do the most amount of work, answer the most amount of calls. And I've seen times when they're on skeleton crew, and when a dispatcher who's on the radio has to go on a break, another dispatcher has to manage 2 districts, which is very dangerous and stressful for the dispatchers. So I support this resolution. Thank you for allowing me to testify.
Thank you. If you could just state your name for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. Eddie Fujioka.
Thank you, Mr. Fujioka. Members, did we have any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Fujioka. Clerks, do we have any other remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, seeing no further testifiers, members, we are in discussion. Committee Vice Chair Kia Aina.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to follow up on my earlier comments, and Major Bodie, I do understand that you guys have done a lot of good work with regard to HPD, but as you can see from the task force, it's composed of other members. So I still believe that 180 days is realistic. If you guys are able to finish a report, a quality report within 90 days, then good for you, right? But I do believe that you need flexibility. Just as we only have 9 council members and we seem to have a lot of viewpoints on a single piece of legislation, is it Bill 60? So too will a lot of people who are going to be part of this task force to have their own opinions. And you don't rush something. You discuss it and ensure that out of the collective voices, you can hopefully have a unified front to wean out what should be actionable items. So I recommend that we amend this resolution, and I believe that Councilmember Tupola would be open to modifying the 90 days to 180 days.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm agreeable. I think that by changing it to 180 days, it gives us that flexibility, and it does not prohibit us from finishing it faster. But I hear what she's saying, which is that we cannot gauge the time frame on deliberation, right? So we cannot gauge the time frame on whether or not the unions need more time to discuss things. So I understand all of that. I think it's reasonable. I'm in favor of a verbal amendment to change page 3, number 6, to submit a report to the council within 180 days of the adoption of this resolution.
Thank you so much, council members Ke'aina and Tupola. And again, noting the verbal amendment. And thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Okay. Members, any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-160 be amended to the verbal amendment as discussed here, where we will change 90 days to 180 days on page 3, item number 6 of the resolution. Any objections or reservations on the verbal amendment? Hearing none, the resolution is amended. The chair then recommends that Resolution 25-160 be reported out for adoption. Resolution 25-160, CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Seeing no further business, I want to mahalo everyone for being here and participating in today's meeting. I want to thank again Committee Chair Toba for allowing us some patience. The Committee on Information, Technology, and Entertainment will begin 5 minutes after this hearing, and there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.